Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you all. Hey, Doug, how's it going? Thanks for the wave. Howdy, Wayne. Holding down the fort over there in Canada. Got Terry Chamberlain. Good to see you, bud. Been a little bit. All right. Looks like Steve's coming in from a church with a lot of fans and ventilation. That's a good sign. All right. So today, if you check the email, we're going to do a special rebroadcast. So I'll try to get right into it so that we don't waste any time. And but I'll give a quick intro to what we're doing here. And we're at Piano Tech Radio Hour. We gather here every Saturday to meet with and learn from the most fascinating and knowledgeable folks in the piano world. That includes manufacturers, rebuilders, musicians, makers of other instruments, and of course, piano techs. Mutual goal is to become better at our craft, to help each other, and to create an ever more musical world together. PTRH is brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses, an online learning resource that brings you cutting-edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. You can find out more at pianotechniciansmasterclass.com. And I will proceed to put any relevant links and so on and so forth into the chat, again, just to save a little bit of time so we can get right into today's rebroadcast. And let me just double check where I have that. It should be here. Downloaded the file recently, but it was pretty recently, so I need to figure out where it is. I think this is it. Oh, no, that's not it. Okay, bear with me 1 second, folks. Where did that go? Oh, I think I know what happened. There we go. Went in the wrong folder. Okay, so give me 1 second. I'll add it to the appropriate screen and we'll roll right in. All right, and yeah, if you didn't see in the email, this is going to be a show with Isaac Sadogorski. And I just mentioned, Larry and I were just talking about him over here when he came to visit at Gerasi, where I'm at. Today, I'm taking the opportunity to do a rebroadcast because they were having an open house where folks will come in and sort of see what's going on here at this artist residency, what kind of projects people are working on. So I just want to make sure, get a little bit of stress off the plate to prep and get ready. All right, so here we go, folks. Let me do a screen share on this one. One moment. And I'll be off camera while we go. And please say in the chat if you have any issues with the signal, video, or audio signal. But I think we should be relatively good. It might be a little slow, but if you're a member, you should be able to check out the recording in the member area. And the podcast is available as well. So I think we should be relatively covered. Here we go. Letting people in there. All right, welcome everyone.
Hey,
how's it going, Bill?
Good.
Bill
Happy
Monroe's
Saturday. Happy Saturday.
Oh, Bill.
All right, happy Saturday.
Face.
Hey. There's multiple Bills here. We have a Bill Monroe. We got a Bill Magnuson.
All right.
Bill Monroe. Okay, nice.
I have to mute myself though because I'm typing again. So
he's clickety clacking. He's always clickety clacking over there.
Hey, Bill.
How are you, David?
I'm really good. Really great. I'm very grateful. I'm feeling good. My body's feeling good.
Good. That's good to hear.
Yeah, it's a new experience over the past 6 months, so I'm really digging the heck out of it.
Good. Yeah, you look like you're up and around today.
Well, as up and around as I get, my energy's getting more and more and more and more. The life-saving poison took a lot out of me, but
Yeah.
now I can restore, and I can feel the energy coming back. It's really good.
Good. That's awesome. That's a good place to be in.
Yep,
A much
That's
better
right.
for sure.
yep.
Should we get rolling here? Should I give a little intro
Let's
and
get
we'll
rolling.
introduce our guest? All right, very good.
Absolutely. Hey, welcome everybody to Tech Radio Hour. Thank you for being dedicated, members of this community. And I see it as a community. I feel it as a community. And Ethan, why don't you do the sponsorship introductions and the just initial introduction of our really honored guest, and
All
then I'll
right,
take over.
sounds good. All right, so just up the top here, we just remind you that piano, it's a really great value. That's a nearly $300 class if you were to purchase it individually. Your preview clip from Jude's content, but we're going to focus from here on for a while on Isaac Sadegorski, a household name in the piano tech community, I would probably say. A veteran of the PTG, and he's been in it for decades of years. And I'm going to hand it over to David to give a little bit more specific introduction, because I think you know him a little bit better, and then we'll have a chat with this fine fellow. So tell me a little bit about what you know about Isaac, David.
Well, Isaac came to this country, I believe, in the late 60s, early 70s. You can correct me,
74.
Isaac, if I'm wrong.
74.
Huh?
74.
74.
Mhm.
And grew up his life in the Soviet Union, now Russia.
Right.
And came here, was a musician and a music student, learned how to work on pianos. I can't remember whether he started learning in Russia or not, but he certainly expanded his knowledge here, joined the PTG early, and has just been a great piano technician ever since. He's had his own kind of practice. He's, as most of you know, he has a van that's like a mobile piano shop. He's got, tools in there and drill presses and stuff. It's crazy. And that's the kind of practice he has. And that's the part of the beauty of the piano tech community that we belong to. Isaac has a totally different piano maintenance practice than I do. We live in the same city, basic urban area, Los Angeles. We both have been relatively successful, and we both love what we do. And we do, of course, some of the same things, but a lot of things that I don't do things that he does, and he doesn't do things that I do. And it's just beautiful. And Isaac is not only a really good piano technician, who's a really good teacher as well. He's just a good guy. It's an honor to have a human be a colleague of mine in our little community. He's one of the ones that make it good. And most are human beings. It's kind of an extraordinary community, and Isaac is a founding member of it. So thank you, Isaac. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm honored and humbled by being invited. So please bombard me with questions, or what would you like me to talk
Can you tell us how you fell in love with pianos and how you pursued this craft and why?
Well, I was a trained musician in Russia. I was lucky to be accepted to a music school at age 5. So born in 1947, we are talking about a long time ago, and studied their music seriously. from accordion to clarinet and all that, trained musician. And one of the big mistakes I did in my life is with intensive study of solfeggio back in Russia, most of my classmates had developed pitch recognition. That's what uneducated people call perfect pitch. There is no such thing, but it was called perfect pitch. And I was under impression that having perfect pitch, being able to recognize notes on the radio or in life on pianos, in any symphony orchestra instrument, I'm totally qualified and ready to become a piano tuner. Big mistake. And I tried to learn the craft back in Russia, and it was impossible to do.
Why were you so curious about it?
What do you say it again, David?
Why were you so curious about working on pianos? Why were you so motivated?
Well, one thing, I'm pretty mechanical guy. In Russia, you learn to fix almost anything around the house because that's the nature. You can find stuff in stores and you better do it yourself. Many guys just learn to do it. So I was pretty mechanical there. I was able to fix my accordion, fix my clarinet, and I thought about a career of being a musician in the United States, and I knew it was a tough road, and plan B wouldn't be so bad. Also, I married a marvelous pianist. And I thought, well, we'll do it. We will skip the middleman. We will do it. I will be tuning her piano. And again, big mistake. It was impossible to learn it in Russia, except piano majors had a course, 2 semesters in piano maintenance. It was great. Future pianists could learn basic stuff about piano acoustics, and my wife had to attend it. And me, a clarinet player, I was not required to do that. But chasing a pretty girl, I followed her. I signed for those classes, and it was a door opener for me. And well, I tinkled around with her piano, somebody else's piano. And as the myth goes, piano tuner in the beginning of their career messes so many pianos up that they have to pack and move out of town. So it happened to me. I messed up a couple of pianos and moved from Soviet Union to California.
Wow. And so when you got here,
Right.
how long did it take you to start
I
working on
tried to
piano?
find employment, and I couldn't speak English, as what you call in the folk language FOB, fresh off the boat. No English skills, nothing, absolutely. And eagerness to provide for the family. We had a 2-year-old daughter when we arrived in Los Angeles. I knocked on a few doors, and of course I could not communicate properly, and nobody will hire me. I went through the club of all the Jewish boys, the piano dealers in Los Angeles, David Abel and David Safir, and you name it. Nobody will hire me. Until my lucky day happened, I was hired by Bill Finnegan, a wonderful Irish man. He had 3 piano stores, and somebody asked him to give me a chance. And I started working there without knowing nothing about pianos. And this was my start. The old rule the old guys were telling about secret of learning is a rule 2-2-1. So 1 mouth, 1 tongue, and 2 ears. Listen twice as much as you talk, and don't talk back. Just try to do something which worked for some guys for years and repeated 87 times and many hundreds of times on pianos, and then you can develop your own way if you're so smart. And in those rebuilding plays where Bill Finnegan had, we would recondition trade-in pianos. And there were hundreds of those. Plus, he was distributor for Aeolian products, and huge trucks will come once every 2-3 months, and we will unload those pianos. I learned how to move pianos too. And then pianos will be distributed to Bakersfield, Santa Barbara, San Diego, all the smaller dealers who sold Aeolian product, but Bill Finnegan was the distributor. So there were hundreds of pianos. A huge 16-wheeler will bring 320 pianos, storing Clarks and the Aeolians, you name it. So it was a lot of work. But all the work there, with the migration after the Big Depression happened in the Western direction, and many guys who used to work at the factories in the old days, in the 1920s and 30s, migrated to Los Angeles. And we had some great guys who had factory experience. And they were proud of it, and they shared a lot of stuff. But one disagreement we could have is what you do at the factory is totally different in the field. In the field, we can deal with older pianos, dilapidated pianos, and at the factory, mostly new stuff. So in the same direction, if young technician works at the dealership working exclusively on a brand new pianos, once he quits and goes into the real world, he's not prepared to work on older Acrosonics, old beat up operates people cherish so much. So we all have different styles of work. And again, I saw brand new pianos, I saw used beat up pianos, and in need of doing cheap and dirty repair real quick because the truck is coming to get it out, and so on. Also, working for a dealer, I was able to watch what happens to those pianos and those repairs after a few months, after a couple of years. And it's
you did good
work and what doesn't last. So did I make long story longer?
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
that was nice and long. I mean, we're
Yeah.
about over, so folks, we're gonna sign off now. And no, I'm just kidding. I wanna.
So,
David may have something to throw in, but I wanna. There's a couple of comments that came in the chat here, and we can talk about them or not. One is from Cy Schuster. He said, very few people have made every single one of their own tools as Isaac has done. That sounds fascinating to hear about. And I think you'll probably be talking about tools when you do your convention class as well. The other comment, which was privately to me, so nobody else saw this, he said, ask him to talk about the famous jar. He bailed me out. This is Jim Kelly. He bailed me out when I needed a brass whip and flange on a Chickering quarter grand. Do you remember?
So, what? Yeah, I like to modify tools, and sometimes working with them, you can see the shortcomings, and it's nothing wrong with it. I make it work better for myself, and I shared all this in my classes at the PTG conventions. Regarding the Chickering brass flanges, again, working in those early days on older pianos and watching what happens to the industry, and many manufacturers went out of business and many parts are obsolete. And coming from the Soviet Union, where we were not used to throw away anything, when I see old Chickering ready for dumpsters, for a dumpster because pin block is all shot and not economical to replace or to rebuild this piano, I save some obsolete parts. Especially Chickering has brass parts you can't find. At one point, Schaff tried to make those parts, and probably machinist didn't have enough coffee that morning, and those parts didn't work. You buy Schaff-made parts from the 1990s, and you will be struggling. So you're better off finding a piano where brass parts don't crumble and save those. And we can have 2-hour long class on how to save parts from junk pianos, what you might need in the future. And those parts might not take too much room. So when it comes to brass flanges from those Chickering pianos or Kimballs, if you have a chance, save them. It's not only for you, but for your neighborhood, for your colleagues in the area. People talk about how to acquire clients, and they will go into, well, piano teachers are good resource, this and that. We forget other tuners when younger guys, without having a luxury of a home and a shop, are in need of parts, and they can recommend you. Again, at this age, I'm not looking for extra work, but it's nice to help fellow technician, younger one. Piano movers get in trouble all the time. Something happens, and quite often they are accused of something they didn't do. Most of the piano movers in the area are my friends. They knew that they would come to me and say, listen, I have that broken part. Can you help me? And I help them out with that broken part. And more referrals can come from piano movers than from teacher.
Oh, many, many, many more.
But
I have
movers know that you are capable of doing it, or you have that part, you are the man. I had a call from a gentleman out of a blue sky 70 miles away. He does warranty work for insurance companies. I mean, the guy needs to have a private helicopter. He flies, he goes from all over. David, you know the distances, Santa Maria to San Diego. He covers insurance companies, wonderful woodworker. He needed hidden hinges, the ones that are used on the player pianos. I had them. Even it was not far from me. I went there, installed them. He was so grateful because 15 lawyers were after that insurance company, after the movers. For the past 30 years, and he refers me to any job, just did one 2 weeks ago. So the bottom line is, if you have some stock of needed obsolete parts, or average furniture maker doesn't have piano related part, and you have it, you have access to it, you have referrals, you have friends, and this gentleman covered me a couple of times on the touch-up jobs. So that's how the world
cool.
works.
I got another comment here from Carl Lieberman, who's also in your area. He said, Isaac, please talk about our common teacher, David Saphir. And is this a relation to Kurt Saphir? I mean, I remember that was like a piano dealer. No, they're different people.
No. There was a Syrian Jewish man who lived some time in Israel. He migrated to Los Angeles. He had training in pianos, and being very entrepreneurial, he opened his piano store, which grew up to enormous rebuilding facility. And quite a few tuners worked for David Saphir. Carl started his career. I believe Carl's mom was his bookkeeper. Carl, is that correct? Oh. And again, after working a couple of years for Bill Finnegan, I sort of gained a reputation. Oh, this guy can fix almost anything. And I worked simultaneously for 3-4 piano dealers. To tell you that there was animosity among them, no. They were helping each other. The salespeople on the floor were fighting to make a sale. But those guys had brains to keep in touch with each other and cover for each other and find needed merchandise if client has something. I mean, we live in a fantastic time when everything is on the computer. You can get anything from Junkman and from other dealers in terms of inventory. In those days, I had witnessed those older guys, the old school, talking to each other. Hey, David, do you have this? I need that. And they were cooperating. They were a great generation of honorable guys. So David Safir operated in Los Angeles for many years until he had developed some severe health condition. He was a chain smoker, 3 packs a day, nonstop.
Oh,
And he died, I believe, in mid 90s. But the experience I got there, they were selling dozens of pianos a month, and they were totally refurbished and rebuilt. And I followed pianos which were partially rebuilt. For instance, piano will be restrung with a new pin block and old A-graphs left.
Wow.
A couple of years later, A-graph will pop up and they will send me out to fix it. That's how I started my love affair with the A-graphs, and my nickname in the community was Isaac Agrafsky. But I thought,
Well, and I should say that Isaac has been repairing broken A-graphs on all my clients' pianos for 30 years, Isaac, would you say?
yeah, just about. What, only 30 years since you got in trouble, David?
And just now he's teaching my partner slowly, because removing and replacing A-graphs is not for the faint of heart.
What
And
was the first timer?
yeah, so Isaac's been my guy for that for forever. I can remember. Okay, go ahead.
What I follow it is why the A-graphs break on the freshly rebuilt pianos. And the answers came up pretty clearly from more experienced technicians. And I ended up giving 3-hour class at the National Convention, I believe in 1987. And what I followed up after David Safir rebuilt pianos is they were all refinished. And I had followed pianos like A.B. Chase and Chickerings and Knobbies with verdigris problem.
Really?
The only thing that Steinway had that notorious thing. I saw the way those pianos were refinished at David Safir's place, where the case was literally dumped in the stripper and soaked with all the chemicals to strip the old finishes. And just last week, I saw Chickering 1916 refurbished at his place, and jacks, weapons, and hammers are all frozen with the verdigris. So go figure. Yeah, watch it out, guys. When you refinish pianos, what you use and what is the effect. You can see the effect only about 10, 20, and 30 years later.
wow, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
It is.
I'm getting here. Yeah, Jim Kelly just followed up here. I'm just checking the comments here. He says he's just following up with what you said about this. You have a large coffee jar with parts in it. You pay the postage, take what you need within reason, and send it back. He is a very generous tech.
We run an honor system. I send those parts to the guys, and again, choose whatever you want and send it big. I started to listen to my wife. She begs me to downsize, to clear up the garage. Since I put all my stuff in the 3-car garage, it was never swept. But well, one of these days, maybe I'll give you a tour of my shop. I have 37 file cabinets filled with parts, and they are classified in a very simplistic way. I have a couple of file cabinets with parts for grand pianos, 2 or 3 of them for vertical pianos. One is totally dedicated to pedal parts, another one to cabinet parts, and so on. So I can live another 350 years and will never use up that stuff. And I made it open to the community. The guys can come, take it. The best example is if there is a broken pedal, I have 2 file cabinets filled with salvaged pedals. So if somebody needs, let's say, the left pedal to be replaced, they can take 2 buckets with left pedals, take it on the site, see what works and what client likes. That's the most important, what mama likes cosmetically. And then do the installation. Replacing just 1 broken pedal saves you enormous amount of time instead of replacing all 3 of them. 3 times as much work. Okay, and then if time will permit, I just brought 1 little set of tools to modify the pedals in case of if you have to replace it on vertical piano, you can do it without a tilter. Very simple.
You have it with you?
I have it right next to me because first we wanted to do the transmission from my garage. But
Well, do it.
in the bedroom, don't tell my wife.
Show us how you use it.
Okay. Well, let's say you have a pedal, you found a good replacement one, and here is the pin, which is friction held, correct? So in order to get it out, to put it inside the vertical piano through the small square opening, you have to knock out the pin, correct?
Mm-hmm.
If you smack it with a hammer, you're going to leave little nicks on either side of the pin. So to get it out safely, about 30 plus years ago, this little gizmo was sold at the conventions for about $40. A blind tuner from Carolinas had son-in-law, a machinist, and this son-in-law made that tool. So if you insert the pedal inside that opening, you can push out the pin very safely, effortlessly. All right. Now the pin is out.
Hold it up a little higher, brother.
Okay, now the pin is out. This is the tool. It's a machine tool. Okay.
And you just put the pin.
It pushes the pin out. All right.
Got it.
Now you install the pedal. You take this tool inside on your knees, and you can push it in. Correct. Done. But there is a much simpler way to do it. Let's say all 3 pedals need to be replaced. So 3 times as much work. Again, it's common practice for guys to carry the tilter and bring it to the client, and then you can bump the wall because it's not enough space and all that stuff. Here is a simple technique. If I mark the top of the pedal right in the middle and right above the pinhole, mark hole, drill a hole, and tap it. Now I can install 2 screws on top of the pedal, so nobody will see it from the outside, and client doesn't care, and God will understand. You got it? So now the pin goes easily in and out. So when the pedal is inside, I can put the pin in, tighten the screw. Tighten the screw on both sides, and now it's going to be tight. It will never come out.
So you drilled a hole through the top, and did you also widen the hole that the pin goes through, or?
two ways to go. You can widen the hole, or you can take the pin and knurled part to the grinder and grind it off. It takes 7 seconds. Either way. So
Very
to
cool.
be efficient, I have that box, and every part of that job is here. Here are a couple of punches to make the mark. For 6 32nd inch screws, there is a drill tap, a drill bit, and a tap corresponding to it, and bunch of those screws. And everything is held on a very strong magnet, so there is less chances to spill. And in this department, there are 8 32nd screws. So if I need this or that, T-handle to do the tapping, extra pins, lubricant, you're all set. So the whole idea of the class I'm going to give about being prepared and putting together kits for specific jobs is, this is a good example. Everything I need for that operation, I have in that computer, in the file drawer, in the cabinet drawer. It comes out, no setup time, just there. Every ingredient is here, done. 3-time drilling, 3-time tapping, put it back, no cleanup time, done. And if you go to the client with 3 pedals with pre-modified hole, you walk like a hero, and you do it 7 times faster than the average guy who still does it the old-fashioned way, with the tilter, with the schmilter, with a big Hollywood production. You don't need it. And if you think I'm very smart, you are making another mistake, because this was originated by late Herman Crawford, member of South Bay chapter. Carl and David know, remember Herman? He was excellent mechanic. And he showed that somewhere in the 1970s, and I adopted that system. The only thing I did is organize them, because I always remember the definition of inefficiency is when the waiter makes 2 trips for salt and pepper. So if we will end up making some money and delivering service, because the majority of our customers want the hell out of the house. They don't want us to stay overnight or have dinner with them. Just do your job, give the bill, out. And usually it happens, if you know that stuff, that they are tired of a couple of guys who tried to do it or escaped the job or ignored it. And especially after piano movers broke the pedal or do-it-yourselfers, they want to have it fixed. So this can be applied to brand new Yamaha replacements and Kawai, anything in production today with the pin, you can adopt.
I'm going to cut in right here real quick.
Yeah, please.
Well, I was just going to tell people watching on YouTube, Facebook, now's about the time we're going to cut off the live stream there. We'll stay on Zoom. So if you want to join us, we put a link in the chat of those platforms and you can hop into the private Zoom call. I just want to let people know about that. Was there something else, David, that you wanted me to check in about?
Just if there was any other comments or questions from the peanut gallery.
I don't have any other comments or questions. I know.
All right, then I'm going to ask Isaac a question.
Sure.
How has your particular practice changed in the last 2 decades?
Well, I'm trying to slow down. There were a couple of close calls health-wise in my piano work, but I was busy only on 2 days, Saturday, Sunday. And I was hustling around. We raised 3 kids. So I never refused any work on any cheap piano or expensive piano, but jumping on a concert stage did not blend in with being a weekend musician, period. So I avoided it. It never hurts my ego, and it works fine. So again, teachers, couple of school districts, 2 colleges, and mostly private clientele in the suburbia the beautiful. Single family homes, family piano. I feel comfortable in that zone without extra pressure of the concert stage.
And
Pretty
and
much-
and
pretty
and
much-
that's been your practice basically since the 80s, correct?
Since the very beginning. Again, when I worked full time for Bill Finnegan, it was one thing. It took me 3 years to end up with a Rolodex of about 1,100 clients. 3 years working for a dealer. So I didn't quit completely. I was able to bring a couple of younger guys who just joined PTG to work for dealers with the promise to the dealer, if anything, I will jump in and cover up. You have access to me anytime. So never burn the bridges. And up until this day, again, if they will be alive, we will be on good terms. But I started to hustle around doing private work. For one private tuning, I could make almost as much as I was making for working a day for a piano dealer. But the old rules, the guys who had done it know the results. Less you get paid, faster you learn. Okay, is that adaptable to many of you? Yeah, being paid $2.15 an hour in 1974, a piano dealer promised to pay me 3 times as much if I will learn the English. So this was a good motivation. He kept his promise. Then I worked for other dealers, so there was never a dull moment, never unemployed moment. I could go to piano store at 6 o'clock in the morning and crank up 3, 4 pianos before 10 o'clock, and then go and do 2, 3, 4 private tunings, or go at 4 p.m. at the school grounds, and custodians will open any door for me, and I had access to school pianos.
Got it.
I got some
So-
comments coming in here.
No more dealers work. I can go as a consultant. I mean, something other guys cannot resolve. And if my client buys piano from that specific dealer, like Dennis Haggerty, Keyboard Concepts, one of the most honorable people in the industry, they will assign me the private tuning, because if they assign it to cheaper guy, younger guy, there is no chance he will keep the client. So they play the fair game, and I don't collect any commissions. from that.
Same thing. Yep. That's one perk of being older and well known and trusted. You know?
Yeah, I can tell you one example. I'm doing warranty work for Dennis Haggerty, and there was some mechanical problem. So I got on the phone and called him and asked him, Dennis, should I do it? What should we do? He stopped me and said, Isaac, listen, just go do it. Send me the bill. Done. Don't disturb me.
That's right.
That's how the relationship works.
It's trust based. I
Oh,
have
yeah.
the same. I have the same relationship with another high end dealer. It's the only way it works.
Yeah.
It's trust. Trust is the most important element in our business, I would say. Wouldn't you?
Very easy to ruin it. And it's a-
Very easy to ruin it. You know, it's really what in my classes I tell people, pretty much everyone, no matter what the class is about, that what you're really learning how to do is to have relationships with human beings. You're learning how to communicate with
Yeah.
human beings. You're learning how to treat human beings like you want to be treated. You're learning all these things. In the very strict confines of business and what you can get paid for. And I think the fact that we have this incredible craft, and I hear about Isaac's practice, and it's so radically different than my practice. But we've both thrived in Los Angeles and made a fairly successful living. Living two different professional lives, both completely useful to our little community. That's part of what's beautiful about working on pianos, and part of what part of the great lessons that Isaac has taught me over the past 3 decades is you can do what you love and carve out your own little domain, and it's beautiful. You can get paid, you can support your family and work successfully. So it's a wonderful lesson that he's brought me. That's all I can say, I guess.
Thank you.
Let me throw in some questions here from the chat. Donna had a sort of like a pseudo personal professional question. Donna Burr said, "Didn't at least one child of yours work with you in the shop? And what are your kids doing now?"
My daughter helped me around numbering parts. My middle son was very helpful in my shop, loved it. I would pay him. He will stash the money as his college fund. But he learned so much working with drills and hand tools that he had to use it in his life, in his business, at his home. He's very handy. My third child is a poet. He's a jazz musician in New York and never had any interest in it. As much as I tried to tell him life of a jazz musician can be a little bit sporadic and it wouldn't be bad to have a plan B in life. No, it didn't work. So that's about it. My wife was helping me, but until once when she was pregnant, she dropped the vertical action and cracked the action bracket. So I had to learn how to fix that. But it didn't end up in the divorce. It was cheaper to keep her, just keep quiet. But in terms of, if you like me to explore the topic on hiring extra help in the shop and what to do, is we can have a class on that subject because I had plenty of bad experiences and plenty of good experiences and can share about it. But what happens to my kids, they didn't want to be workaholics, and all of them work pretty hard. And they're good citizens, great kids with great, we have 4 grandkids and granddog too. So life is good.
What's your son's name that plays in New York?
Sam.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, I found his website. That's awesome. And he plays piano?
No. Saxes, flutes, clarinets. He worked on Broadway for a long time until the COVID.
Wow.
Unemployed.
Let me move on to a couple other comment questions here. Carol Wangania, who is in I'll think of it. I keep forgetting where, but far away. What kind of lubricant do you use and have you avoided for pedal work?
Pedal work, very few pedal connectors have metal to metal connectors. They have leather or felt in between, so you have to watch that stuff if it's not worn out, because pedals get the hardest workout in the piano mechanism. Finger touch of VJ. And for those of you who don't know what VJ is Vic Jackson was the gentleman who originated that lubricant based on lanolin, which is kidney animal fat. And in order to make it smell a little better, there is some Vaseline and baby talc And again, very effective lubricant for metal to felt, felt to wood, and it's a must in the piano tuner's tool case. I cook my own stuff, and when I was teaching classes, I would bring smaller jars and give it away to people, just to have a bigger crowd, have to bribe.
So you make it with some Vaseline and a little bit of talcum powder?
Right, but you need lanolin, which is expensive, but nothing is expensive in terms of our tools and parts. Price shouldn't stop us from acquiring good stuff which works effectively. That's the bottom line.
There's also I use a commercial version of VJ Lube.
David,
Straight up.
I'll bring you some good stuff. It will outlast you and me.
Okay.
You don't need much of that stuff. The secret is
I know.
the only
You need
way
little-
to cook it properly is if you buy old-fashioned coffee, the cooker which brews coffee.
Percolator.
Modern ones are made so when that certain temperature is reached, it shuts it off. These old ones could start a fire in the house if somebody forgot to turn it off. So when it cooks, it takes about 25 minutes to cook a whole jar, which will last the entire Los Angeles chapter for a couple of weeks. And
That question, by the way,
very important to have a proper container. I just happen to have one. See, this little one is very small. The color makes it easy to find in the tool case. And finger goes in, so very easy to apply, just the finger touch. And this was designed for taking urine samples when they are testing people for drugs. So this stuff is indestructible. You can crush it with a hammer because urine is very acidic. So this stuff will survive the abuse of the toolbox, and it's a very good container for VJ. Next question.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say that question, Indonesia, that's where Karel is from.
Well,
A comment here from Raymond Cognio, who's also quite far and beams in the nighttime from South Africa. He said, greetings to you, Isaac, who made him feel so welcome at his first PTG convention. What a great ambassador and inspiration. That's sweet.
thank
Sai
you.
Schuster said, Isaac, you figure out the best way to solve any problem, and then because of your kind and generous spirit, you share all these techniques. He is grateful. And Carl said, Sam, your son, won a Tony for the band's visit. He was the composer.
No. He was not a composer. No.
Okay.
They needed some Jewish music for that show, and my son went with me on the gigs, and he picked up few riffs and how to play Jewish music. So the composer was consulting with him.
Oh, but it was still it was a Tony winning. It was a Tony winning production.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But on the day they announced that they won the Tony, they announced that the show is closing down. So that's the brutality of a show business.
Wow. When
Yeah.
was that? What year was that?
This is, I believe, a year and a half ago or so. The show closed down before the COVID, maybe 8 months before that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Got just a few comments about the mixtures for the VJ, but that's in the chat. Yuha said, thanks, Isaac. Nice to see you. Porat said, I made your sister Clara watch you from Pardesia, Israel. Great experience. Oh,
No, I didn't tell my sister, but yeah, somehow it got to her. Moshe, if you're watching, shalom.
oh, nice. That's what I really. I mean, that's one of my favorite parts about doing these is that, like I
Yeah,
said, we
the
got people in
geography is awesome.
Indonesia.
Thank God we studied geography pretty well in Russia. So I know we're in the
So Isaac,
Yeah.
we have a bit of time left. If there was a man or a woman that was 25 or 26 and they had been scuffling around in jobs and they were good with their hands and they loved music profoundly and they were interested in working on pianos, what would you tell them?
Well, I'll tell them it takes 20 years to become an overnight success in the show business. In piano business, it takes only 18 and a half years. It's a long road to success, and it's never a total success. What I find strange is we go to every client and we tune piano and we noodle a little bit, and they think they're geniuses, and they compliment our work where they have no idea, including some highly skilled musicians or teachers, what solid and proper tuning is. Only we know. And the mistake I see made by young people is not learning how to tune solid unisons first. Once you acquire that skill and tuning octaves, you can get away with imperfections in the temperament. And the best advice will be to learn to tune fast. The best example I have when I went to Dennis Nicholson's school, American Institute of Piano Technology, the following experiment was made. Dennis tuned an octave, all the unisons, everything was good. And in order to show how broken string can affect neighboring strings, we watched on the screen, let's say middle C, and the neighboring C sharp was being tuned sharp and sharp and sharp, and middle C was tested and watched how it affects that neighboring key without touching it with the tuning hammer. And then finally, after being about 300-400 cents sharp, that C sharp string will snap and break, and we could see how much it affected them. What I'm trying to say is anything we do in a temperament scale, by the time we move third and fourth higher, this one we just tuned 3 minutes ago is affected and is slightly off, no matter how good you are. So if we tune fast and bring it closer and closer and closer to that equilibrium, it will make tuning stable. Our reputation is based on how stable our tuning is. We can spend 3 hours tuning temperament octave, and it will go out of tune if it doesn't stay in tune. Your reputation will suffer. So to achieve stable tuning, the modern electronic stuff helps us to achieve that. I'm using Rayburn Cyber Tuner and love it. For 30 years, I tuned orally by ear. Stubborn. Carl knows what a struggle I went through. I didn't know what to do with the machine. Now I can call myself a hybrid tuner. I do orally. I can turn off the machine and have no difficulties tuning. But the machine puts us into perspective, and we can see what kind of difference it is to move to tune piano from lowest A0 all the way to C8 chromatically. But orally, it's impossible to do. So you have to have good quality machine to nail it down and see for yourself how stable you're tuning, and watch for you and judge for yourself how good you are. And there's always room for improvement.
Somebody asked, Bruce said, wonderful class. Please, Isaac, is your pedal pin remover injector available somewhere? Or is that just kind of a vintage?
I joke with the guys, somebody will have to wait for my obituary to get it. But I don't think it's made commercial. Maybe Schaff, I don't them, because when I got it, I talked to the Schaff boys and I told them, guys, why don't you make it? Even if you sell it for double, it it's a lifesaver for technicians. And I don't know what happened. I have mine. I use it when I need it. But in my case, I do a lot of that work for other guys. I would gladly let them use my toolkit and do it on their own, but it doesn't happen. Again, they need coaching how to do it, so they just simply say, Isaac, go do it. Once in a late chapter, somebody asked, well, how do you fix broken A-graph? And somebody else, call Isaac. So I have fun doing that stuff. And tuning can be boring sometimes, but repair is fun.
That's great.
Explore it. Pedal pin extractor. If you want to get in touch with me, I will send you a few pictures, and your friend machinist can easily duplicate it. At one point, I tried to do it myself. No, I can make a lot more money, to be honest, than making tools.
All right, so we are just about the end of the hour, and
We're
it's been
almost done here.
really great spending some time with you, Isaac. I
Thank you.
honestly, I mean, I almost teared up a little bit just hearing some of the wonderful comments people made about you. So it's been a privilege to hang out a little bit, and we're gonna sign off here in a minute as we usually do. I think I might, we'll get some last words from everybody, and I think what I might do, just because we have it and it's kind of fun and it gives people a preview of the next thing that we're doing later today. I've got a little video clip that we pre-shot. For Jude Reveley's class, just a little bio about him. So I'll probably play that as we head out, and you guys can hop off or jump over to the link to sign up for the convention, and you'll automatically get registered for Jude's class coming up. So I'll play that when we're typically would be signing off, and then I'll sign off. It's about 2 or 3 minutes long. But yeah, for now, we'll just kind of say thank you very much to Isaac. Any parting words you want to share with us, and advice, well wishes? What do you got?
Well, I would recommend to everybody who is not in the Piano Technicians Guild to get into the game. Pay your $1 a day membership dues, but you can learn so much, and the network you will create is enormous. And then the network nationwide is incredible. And another thing is going to conventions, what you can learn in the hallways by buying a cup of coffee or a sandwich to an old timer and ask him many questions. You can do a lot. I can talk for hours the stuff I learned while having a meal with old timers who are gone now. And this is invaluable experience. And just the journal alone is worth all this money. So join it and contribute, and then share your experience with the rest of us. We have no secrets in this trade. We are alone, and always room for improvement. And again, thank you very much for inviting me, and hope you learned something.
That reminds me, Isaac, for those of you that didn't realize it that are attending here, the PTG has negotiated a special deal with Piano Technicians Masterclasses. If you do sign up for the convention, you check your PTG November e-news, they've included a coupon code, and you'll get a very generous discount that will probably pay for your entire dues depending on the level at which you sign up. So check for that as well. Very generous to negotiate that for PTG members. So David,
We're
anything
out
you
of
want to say?
time.
Already?
Thank you so much, brother.
Thank
We
you.
are out of time. We're gonna,
Each other.
thank you so much. It was deeply enjoyable, and I told you it would fly by, and it did.
Well, I was nervous.
I know. But
All right,
but
folks.
thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Bye, folks. See you next
Bye.
week. Thank you.
I'll play
so
this
much.
video out if anybody wants to check it.
Enjoy your work. Stay safe.
See you later.
Greetings. My name is Jude Reveley, and it is my profound pleasure to welcome you to Absolute Piano Restoration Incorporated. Right through here, please. And here are some fun Jude Reveley facts. I was born in Mexico City, Mexico, to American parents, so I'm American with a Mexican soul and heart in mi alma. I was raised in New York City. My mom was a musician. My dad built houses and was in the real estate business. Fell in love with music, and especially as a teenager, I started playing in punk rock bands, which led to an exploration of all styles of music. And that's when I moved up to Boston to study at the Berklee College of Music, which eventually led to me buying a very old, crappy upright and learning to kind of repair it myself since I was on a student budget. Started apprenticing with pianoforte. The owner was Denny Chambers, and he taught me how to tune and service pianos along with Fred Mudge, who's one of Boston's top concert technicians. I started apprenticing with George Crawford and got very deep into the rebuilding trade. Met a lot of people in the Boston area, namely David Stanwood, who really opened my eyes about action design. Also Bruce Clark, mentored with him for a number of years. And through the Piano Technicians Guild, met a lot of people nationally, from Ron Nossaman to Ron Overs, David Hughes, people that were very generous with their time and knowledge. In 2009, when the economy crashed, I went back to school to study mechanical engineering. So it's really been a fun journey of learning to kind of problem solve and continue to get my butt kicked by each piano that comes in, and in the long run, have the gratification of making an instrument that even I can play. Greetings.